thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel, Tim's Vlog Spots. This is Tim, and we've been reading a story since last Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I hadn't had a chance to do part 4 yesterday, so today I had to do part 4 and 5, so we're going to do, we're going to be reading chapters 5 and 6 in the book by Beverly Clearly, The Mouse and the Motorcycle. So if you haven't been following up on my series, I'll be reading stories. It's called Reading Stories for Tim, and I'll be reading stories for you so you can listen to the stories I've been reading. And this week it will be chapters 5 and 6 on part 5. 4 and 5. So this chapter is called Adventure in the Night. So in the book, we saw that Kenneth's family just came to the hotel room. They were going to stay there for a little visiting the whole Mountain View Hotel. They took a long time. They went to the mountain highway, and they didn't want to find another one. It was taking too long, so they stayed at this one. And the mom thought there was mouse in the hotel room, and the people said there wasn't because they kept it up to date. And dinner was at 6 o'clock, so they went to dinner that night. And as they went to dinner, Kenneth was playing with his cars on his bed because there was stripes on the bed, so he was playing like he was on the highway. So he had a motorcycle, a Corvette, a sardine, I think an ambulance, and he was making all the noise. And then his parents told him to go get ready for dinner, and he did, and he left his apple core on the bedside, so his mom came and put it in the wastebasket. And so Ralph was curious about the motorcycle, so he went up to the bed by climbing up onto the telephone cord. So he climbed up there, and then he found the motorcycle, and he was playing with. Before he played with it, he was looking at it and see what it was all about and everything like that. Got in and he was playing with it, and then the phone rang like halfway, and he got scared and fell into the wastebasket, and he saw the apple core and ate some of that, and then he fell asleep. And then the kid came back because it was ready for bedtime, but the parents had to stay for a little longer. So, and the kid found out that his motorcycle was in the wastebasket, and he saw the mouse, and then he heard the mouse talk like human, and they started understanding each other. And then he took out the boy, and we took out the mouse and the motorcycle, but he let the wastebasket on the side so they can do that. So they were playing for a little while before his mom and dad came in and tell him to good night. Before that, he was taking a bath and all that, brushing his teeth so he can rush in and all that. So like, oh yeah, I'm eating some more of my barbecue that my sister did because I had my family over. But that's the reason why I couldn't do my video yesterday, because I had no time. So tonight, the reason why it's nighttime, but I'm still going to read chapters 5. And it's called Adventure in the Night by The Mouse and the Motorcycle by Beverly Clearly. Okay, it says, when Ralph had mastered riding the motorcycle on the thread bar carpet, he went bumping over the rows on the least worn part under the dress and the bedside table. That was fun, too. Hey, whispered the boy. Come on out when I can see you. Pew, 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 pew. Ralph shouted out into the moonlight, where he stopped, sitting jauntily on the motorcycle with one foot resting on the floor. Say, he said, how about letting me take her out into the hall? You know, just for a little spin to see how fast she goes. Promise you'll bring it back? Asked Kenneth. Scout's honor, answered Ralph, who had picked up many expressions from children who had stayed in 215. Okay, I will tell you what, said Kenneth. You can use it all at night, and I'll use it in the daytime. I'll leave the door open an inch so you could get in. That's the way you could ride it up and down the halls at night. Can I really? This was more than Ralph had hoped for. Where do you want me to park it when I come in? He asked. Someplace where the maid won't step on it, answered the boy. That's easy, under the bed. She particularly never cleans under the bed. Yes, I know, agreed Kenneth. I looked. There are lots of dust mice back there. Please, Ralph was painted. Oh, sorry, said the boy. That's what my mother called bunches of dust fluff under the bed. My mother doesn't, said Ralph. Now how about opening the door? The boy puts his hand on the doorknob. You won't let anything happen to my motorcycle, will you? He asked. You know I will let You know I won't let anything happen to a beautiful like this, said Ralph. See that you don't. And don't stay out too late, the boy opened the door and permitted Ralph to put out into the dim lit of the hall. Ralph had scarcely feeling he was on the threshold of adventure. There was no bed or chairs or for him to dart under in case of danger. The floor creaked. Someone was snoring in room 214. Across the hall outside in the pins of owl hoot, sending pricks up Ralph's spine. Oops. So this is Ralph's on the motorcycle outside room 215, and he is going to go on an adventure. Ralph controlled the thumping of his paws while he hesitated outside the door to consider the possibility of the hall, which was carpet down the center, leaving two smooth highways of bars floor on each side along the baseboard. It did not take Ralph long to decide what to do. He picked up his tail, took a deep breath, bent low over the handlebars, flattened his ears, and sped down the straightway as fast as the motorcycle would go. He could feel his whiskers sweep back by the force of his speed. It was glorious. Ralph had never ventured so far from home before. The old wooden hotel cooling in the night air and creaking, but Ralph was brave. He was riding a motorcycle. He passed room 213, ran out of breath, and let motor carry his past another noisy snore in room 211. On down the hall to the elevator, the mysterious elevator that carried people to the wonderful places. Ralph had heard so much about the ground floor. When Ralph came to the stairs, he stopped to look down, knowing it was impossible to ride a motorcycle downstairs, and at the same time wishing he could see for himself the wonders that lay below. He sniffed the air, and it seemed to him that he could smell the strange food he had heard about. Cinnamon buns with sticky frosting, turkey stuffing, and pancakes with maple syrup. A ray of moonlight from a window glinted on the glassy eye of a mountain deer head. Over the stairs, landing and startled Ralph, sending him off down the hall past the broom closet and the linen room to the end of the hall where he acceded a sharp turn and started back. Excitedly by speed, Ralph raced up and down. Once, when he heard some people getting out of the elevator, he had to duck behind the curtains of the windows of the end of the hall. Towards midnight, he passed his Aunt Sissy scruffily along the baseboards. He waved and nearly lost control of the motorcycle. Aunt Sissy stopped to stare while Ralph rode on, feeling pleased with himself and at the same time sorry for Aunt Sissy, poor frigid thing with only her feet to carry her from one crumb to the next. Up and down the hall raced Ralph until after a expectantly noisy burst of speed outside room 211, he was startled to hear a dog bark inside the room. Now it was Ralph's turn to be frightened. Oh, he thought, I better be careful. If there was one thing Ralph disliked, it was people who traveled with dogs. Dogs always sniffed around where they have no business sniffing. Once a dog had even barked into the mouse hole in room 215. It was days before Ralph's mother got over that. Ralph heard something moving around inside 211 and looked back over his shoulders. He saw the door open and a trouser man in a bathrobe and slippers appeared carrying a little terrier. The man looked cross and sleepy as he started down the hall towards the elevator with his dog. He was walking straight towards Ralph. Pew, 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 pew. Realized he was taking a chance. Ralph sped up the motorcycle. If he turned and hurried back to room 215, he would have to pass the man. It was better to continue towards the elevator and hope he could find a place to hide. He raced down the hall. The wide barks of the little terrier told Ralph that he had been seen by the dog, if not by the man. Oops. Look at that. That is mostly scary. That there was no place for Ralph to hide. And he heard the dog bark. I think the dog saw him. So let's find out. Shut up, muttered the man to his dog. I'm going to walk you. You don't have to wake up the hotel. Ralph reached the elevator where he drove around behind the ashtray on a stand beside the door. He stopped and waited tensely and frightened. Outside, an owl was silent and hoot again. A sudden breeze rattled windows and banged the door. Ralph's teeth began to chatter. The dog whimpered, but the man walking straight past pushed a button, and in a moment stepped into the elevator. Woo! Through Ralph when the elevator door had closed on the sleepy man and his noisy dog. Maybe he had better lie low for a while. In a few minutes, the elevator returned to the second floor. As the man stepped out, the dog was looking over his shoulders and spied Ralph parked behind the ashtray stand. Because the dog was a captive and he was free, Ralph could not risk sticking out his tongue and wagging his paws in his ears. A gesture he had learned from children in 215, and one he knew was sure to arouse anger. Let me at him, barked the little terrier. Cut it out, grumbled the man, fuming for the doorknob for room 211, while Ralph and a daredevil now rode in a giddy circle around the ashtray stand. He had a feeling of cockiness he had never known before. Who said mice were timid? Ha! When the morning song of birds in the pines grew louder than the snores of the guests and a dawn slipped through the windows at the end of the hall, Ralph knew it was time to return to room 215. There he was shocked to discover the door shut. Only then he recalled the draft in the night and the slam of the door. He got off the motorcycle and pounded the door with his fist. But what sleepy boy could hear a mouse beating on the door? Ralph knew for experience that he could flatten himself out and crawl under the door of room 215, but there was no way he could get the motorcycle through the crack. Not even by lying it on the side and pushing the handlebars were too wide. Ralph dismounted from the motorcycle, sat down and leaned back against the baseboard. Perhaps to guard the motorcycle under Kenneth awoke and discovered the door blown shut. He was tired after a night of such great excitement and full of dreams. Now that he had seen the hall, he could no longer be satisfied with room 215. It was not enough. He longed to see the rest of the world. The dining room and the kitchen and the storeroom and the garbage cans out back. He wanted to see the game room where he had been told grown-up people play games with cards and balls and paddles. He wanted to go outdoors and brave the owls to hunt for seeds. Ralph, a grown mouse who needed his rest, dozed off against the baseboard beside the motorcycle after the experience of this night. He would never be the same mouse again. Next thing Ralph knew, Matt, the bellboy, was standing over him. Are you out pretty late? Matt asked, causing Ralph to jump to his feet even though he was not entirely awake. You should have been in bed long ago, but I suppose you were all out until all hours speeding around on the motorcycle. Ralph had seen Matt many times, but this was the first time the old man had spoken to him. He was astonished to discover they spoke in the same language. Even so, Ralph stood in front of the motorcycle, annoyed. Who tried to take it away from him would have to fight Ralph first. Nice little machine you got there, remarked Matt. Kind of wish I was young enough to ride one myself. Must be fun, speeding along, making all that noise. Ralph realized that Matt was a friend. Say, he began. How about helping a fellow out? Sure, agreed Matt. What can I do for you? Open the door at cracks just enough so I can ride through. I promised the boy I would park his motorcycle on the bed. Good place, said Matt. The maid never cleans there if she could help it. Very quiet, he turns the knob and opens the door. Just enough for Ralph to ride through. Ralph bumped over the edge of the carpet, swung swung out around their wastebasket in the bedside table and was about to drive under the bed when "Ee!" screamed the boy's mother, who was standing in the doorway between 2:15 and 2:16 in her bathrobe with her hair up on rollers. "A mouse!" Ralph put on a burst of speed and shot under the bed. "Where?" asked the boy's father, coming in room 216. "Under the bed. I look, Mom," said the boy, jumping out of bed. Kenneth's face appeared under the lift edge of the bedspread. "Where?" Ralph said, tumbling on the motorcycle. The boy held out his hands and beckoned. Ralph understood. He dismounted and ran up the boy's arm inside the sleeve of his pajamas until he came to the crook of his elbow. There he waited, shivering, to see what would happen next. Down at the end of the sleeve, he could see the boy's fingers close around the motorcycle. Then he felt himself begin lifted as the boy rose from his hands and knees. "It's just my motorcycle," Kenneth said. "Yeah, that's it," agreed his mother. The door opened and the mouse rode it. The boy's father began to laugh. "You are still dreaming, but I'm positive," instead the boy's mother. "That saw a mouse on a little red motorcycle," finished the boy's father, and laughed even harder. "You make it sound so ridiculous." Object to the mother. "Well," the father snorted with laughter. "Well, perhaps I was dreaming," admitted to the mother, reduced. "But I know I saw a mouse. I am positive, and I'm going to report it to the manager. I knew the minute we moved into the spooky old place that it had mice. Now I'm done." It threw Ralph inside the pajama sleeve. We're going to stop there. I'm going to upload part 4 and then continue on part 5. I'm going to take a little break, have some food, and come back in a couple minutes after I upload part 4. Thank you for listening to chapter 5. And now let's get on to chapter 6 soon. So hope you like it.